Hello and welcome to Draft of the Day. You're here with me, Troy Magnerson, and our resident stato, Brian Okocha.
Hi, Troy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to see you again. We've got some really good fixtures coming up in game week 8, haven't we? So,
it was a great weekend. It's a great weekend.
Great weekends of some cracking football, some big goals scored. Now, going into this weekend's fixtures, there were 6 teams that were within 5 points of being with each other at the top of the table. Now, how close is this season shaping up to be, Brian?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers away so that we can see the league just yet, but you're absolutely right, Troy. It looks at the minute like there's a bit of a top half, bottom half split. So you've got at least 6 teams in there. But having said that, all it takes is a run from a team at the bottom half to be right there in amongst it as well.
We did see that last season, didn't we, of course, with Michael Southan. If we take a look at some of the fixtures, though, this week, we've got the likes of Bob Chrysler versus Emily Garside first up. Now, obviously, Bob Chrysler on an incredible run of form at the moment. The Bob Juggernaut rolling on. And Emily Garside not doing so well, only 1 win so far this season. How did they get on this weekend, Brian?
Well, you can see here from the screen share, Troy, that Bob Chrysler won the fixture by 36 points to 11. Bit of a formality, this, in my opinion. It would have had to have taken quite a big slip up from Bob to lose. But if you look at the team itself, 36 points, for me, it was a weekend overall of good fortune and bad fortune. Bob Chrysler falls, for me, in the good fortune bracket this week. He wins on a score of 36. Later on, you're going to see people lose on more than that. But ultimately, it's all about just beating the team in front of you. And the team in front of him this week was Garside. He gets 6 points from Mings, 6 from Vestergaard, 7 from Barkley, 7 from Adams. And ultimately, that was enough to beat, yet again, a very poor Emily Garside team on 11, as you can see here.
Who has nobody really playing by the looks of things.
Yeah, I think we might have a technical hitch here that isn't showing the actual points.
Slight
most players not actually playing there. You can see red flag, red flag.
I mean, it's those kind of mediocre performances that when you can still pull the 3 points out of the bag, that's really the sign of a championship winning team. I mean, how do you fancy Bob's chances going through for the rest of the year?
Well, if you look at the table, which I'm happy to do now, we're a few days removed from the fixtures. Let's face it, we all know what the table looks like.
We know.
Bob Chrysler here in second, level with points. And at the end of the day, if you're in amongst it at this stage of the season, anything can happen. His points tally solid as well. He's the 3rd highest points tally of the season so far, and he's winning the games he should be winning.
He's certainly barkleying with the big dogs at the minute, is our Bob.
He certainly is, Troy.
So coming up next, so our second fixture, it was a more tight affair than we probably would have assumed before going into it. But we had Sean Hartman's Draft Punk 2.0 against Sam Fleming's Luke Kyle Walker's. Now, how did they get on there? Would you like to pull up our graphic there, please, Brian?
Well, I talked before about good fortune versus bad fortune, Troy, and you've got Sam Fleming here on more points than Bob, on I believe the 4th or 5th highest points of the weekend. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 5th highest points of the weekend. Bob Chrysler, Mike Southan, and Adam Unwin all won this week on fewer points than Sam Fleming, but she is unfortunate this week to finish on 38 points. With no victory, no points, I'm afraid. She started the weekend strong, as you can see here. She's got Pope, she's got Lamptey, she's got Tarkowski, all getting sort of 9, 6, and 6. So she started really strong. But what I do want to highlight here is Sean Hartman doing exactly what he did last season, which in terms of the waivers and the free agents, really just making the difference. He looked at his team and he realised that Matt Doherty, as you can see there, was a free agent on Thursday evening. Now, he knew that Doherty was playing against West Brom, and he knew that Doherty was a former Wolves player, and he just had that feeling that the former Wolves player would screw over West Brom. And lo and behold, not only did he get a clean sheet, but he got a late assist. He gets 12 points, which in the end was the difference maker. Some people are calling it a masterstroke. Some people are saying it was a bit of luck. Other people are saying bit of one, bit of the other. But at the end of the day, Sean finishes on 42, gets one of the unlikeliest of comebacks thanks to a late Ollie Watkins brace as well. And he now finds himself 5th in the table, 5 points off top.
I think you're right there, Brian. Now, some people would say that Sean may be trying to run a bit of a one-man team, whereas other people would say that he's been very shrewd in his dealings. I mean, how do you think that Sam Fleming's chances are affected by having so many Wolves players in her squad?
I think it's one of those, she's going all in. You know, if she has a weekend, if you look at this team, if she has a weekend where Wolves and Man City do well, I've said it many times before, she's absolutely stormed it. Wolves keep a clean sheet here, that's 12 points. Man City keep a clean sheet, that's another 6 for AK. And then you've got De Bruyne, maybe Foden plays as well. And then, of course, she's even got 2 Burnley, which really benefited her over the weekend. So, it's one of those where you expect it to pay off over the course of the season, but it hasn't really so far, if we're being honest.
Yeah, risky strategy that doesn't seem to be working for Sam at the moment. I'm sure she has the backing from the board to turn things around before Christmas, though. So, coming on to our next third fixture of the weekend, we've got Stuart Reid's I'll Try All My Best taking in the visit of Damien Dickens's Clop It Like It's Hot. Now, Damien was on a run of poor form lately, only 1 win in the last 4. So would you like to run through how Damien got on here? Damien and Stuart.
He was superb this week. Obviously, we talked before about fortune. Stuart Reid finished on 32, which is relatively low. A lot of points here on the bench. But ultimately, it didn't matter. I think he said himself he felt better about the fact that it didn't matter. If you look at Damien's performance here, 53, one of the highest points tallies of the weekend. You've got Target on 11. You've got Fernandez on 17 for crying out loud. Calvert-Lewin on 5. This was a massive return to form for Dickens.
Yeah, you can see the quality all through Dickens' squad there. He's clearly taken some time assembling that to try and make up for players that maybe won't perform on the day. There's always somebody else backing up his case. I mean, going back to Stuart Reid's team, though, I mean, any team with Paul Pogba in the starting lineup in 2020, should they really be the top half of the table?
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd one, isn't it? You look at the quality throughout the rest of his team, the likes of Vardy, the likes of Son, even Thiago Silva and Cody, who seem to be keeping a lot more clean sheets now. This bizarre sort of loyalty to the likes of Pogba and even Maguire, it may hold him back over the course of the season. But if you take a look at the league as it stands, he's doing very well. He's got the 2nd highest points tally for the season. He's 3rd in the league. But like you say, it could very well be those loyalties that are getting him those. You see the tally here. You've got 6 wins and 2 defeats. Now with a points tally of 355, you'd maybe expect slightly more than that. Could be those loyalties that are costing him the odd fixture.
And that's what it could come down to by the end of the season, won't it? But we still are in early days, and Stuart has made a cracking start. Which brings us on to our fourth fixture of the weekend. We had Michael Southan against last season's almost punchline Neil Redding. How did they get on this weekend? Well, we can see there, can't we?
Yeah, we can see it was 37-25 to Mike Southan. This was as expected. I think Neil Redding has taken a couple of surprise defeats this season, including against Sean Hartman. You can see him here in 8th place in the league. Frankly, he has no right to be there. He has the 2nd lowest points tally overall, but is somehow in 8th. Mike Southan, on the other hand, doing pretty well on 304 with 12 points. He's that player. I was talking earlier about how there's a top 6 split, and then maybe someone in the bottom half could go on that run. You'd expect, hopefully, that to be Mike Southan, possibly even George Attwell, given his points tally. But yeah, this was a fairly straightforward win for Mike. You've got 37 points here. Mentioned earlier, good fortune, bad fortune. Sam Fleming on 38. Didn't win. Mike Southan 37, and he did. You've got Taylor with 8 points. You've got T. Elements with 3, Werner with 7, McGoldrick with 6. And a fairly poor outing from Neil Redding. If there weren't an Emily Garside in this division, you'd think he'd be the lowest scorer of the week more often. He wasn't this week.
He'd be 2020's punchline once again, of course.
Absolutely. If you look at this lineup, it's Salah getting almost half the points, and then a lot of ones and a lot of twos.
Yeah, I mean, when you pack your midfield full of players like that who just don't really get the fantasy football points that you need to survive in the league, the writing has to be on the wall at some point, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Brian?
It does, but saying that, it's not as if he's not trying. He picked up 4-0 this week. So he obviously made an attempt from a waiver perspective. 4-0 and Bowen on paper could score over the course of the season. West Ham are obviously doing very well. Firmino has the odd good week. He's got a Wolves defender in there as well. It's not as if there's no hope in there at all, but the points tally at the minute, isn't it?
Relying very heavily on luck there is Neil. Maybe that will pay off for him more as the season progresses. Now on to our fifth fixture. We've got George Attwell's Attwell the Bastards taking in the visit of Adam Unwin's We're All Doomed 2. Now this, I mean, we talk about close fixtures earlier with Sean and Sam. This was as close as it comes, isn't it?
This is as tight as it comes. And I talked before, Troy, about good fortune and bad fortune. And wow, let's talk about this. Adam Unwin on 36 getting the victory. Jesus, you can't actually see this, but Jesus came off Adam's bench. So he was at 27 before Jesus came on and won him the fixture. But
just to be clear, Adam Unwin had Jesus on the bench and had Eddie Nketiah starting ahead of him.
I believe so. I'm going to go on automatic subs here. Yes, he actually had Sharp ahead of him as well.
He had Billy Sharp.
Yeah, so I don't know if he will.
It's an interesting tactic, isn't it? Yes.
We'll maybe have to get a confirmation on him on why that was. But
maybe he knew something.
Maybe he thought that Jesus was injured. Maybe he rated that sort of Liverpool defence. I don't know. But
or maybe it was a behavioural problem with Jesus this week. Jesus comes off the bench and does the business, and that's the kind of reset in mind that Unwin had. Who knows? Only Adam Unwin knows what's going on there.
Absolutely, and as I say, he comes on. He turns 27 points into 36. But I just want to take a closer look at George Attwell's score here, because again, I talk about good fortune, bad fortune. He loses by 2 points because of that Jesus cameo. When look at the situation here. You've got Jack Grealish, who played very well in the Arsenal game. I believe he got an assist, but he gets no bonus points. 2 bonus points would have been the draw, 3 for the win. But obviously, you've got the likes of Watkins, Barkley, Target taking those bonus points instead. But perhaps even more harshly, you've got John McGinn here, only scoring 3 points for the week, despite the fact that early in the Arsenal game, he had a goal disallowed. A lot of people saying that was a perfectly good goal. That would have been at least another 5 points for George. That would have gotten the win. So it's hard not to feel for George here.
It does feel like the bastard has become the bastarded. I mean, would you say with that kind of quality throughout the team, has Attwell lost the dressing room? Do they play for him?
Not at all. I think, you mentioned that the bastard being the bastarded this season. I think you're absolutely correct. If you look at the overall points tally, as I'm indicating here, Attwell has the highest of anybody in the bottom half. He's only 14 or so below Sean in 6th. He really has the sort of team and the sort of points tally as someone who should either be in the top half, pushing towards the top half. Unfortunately, the points tally doesn't tell that same story. He is on 3 points. He is 12 points outside the top half. But, we are still fairly early in the season. Who knows where we'll be this time in 6 months.
Still very much time to turn that around. You're right, Brian. Which brings us on to our final fixture of the weekend. So we had another top half clash with Sean Belyea versus Adam Lacey's Lingardium Leviosas. Is this just becoming a formulaic win now for Lacey?
Well, it's starting to feel that way, isn't it? I'm going to say it one more time. I'm a broken record, Troy, but it's good fortune, bad fortune. Sean Belyea with 45, the third highest score of the weekend. He's got the likes of Cresswell in there with 6. He's got Fabianski in there with 15, who scored so highly, by the way, because of saving that penalty against Fulham.
Of course.
Seems a bit of a strange decision to me, but, saves a save. Abraham, obviously, with 8 as well. If he just looked at his points tally, he'd think to himself, 45, I'm in with a strong chance of winning here. But once again, we've got Adam Lacey as the top scorer of the week. He's the top scorer of the season by quite some way. And if you look at his team, Troy, this is what's most interesting. There isn't any one player that's running away with it. There isn't one player that's getting 20, 25. It's just more or less the entire first 11. You've got 6 from McCarthy, 6 from Regular, 9 from Walker-Peters, 8 from Chilwell, 11 from Ziyech, 7 and 9 from Bamford and Kane. It's just quality all over the team.
Which ultimately is what wins people titles at the end of the day, at the end of the season. I mean, looking at that team there does seem to be heavily reliance on certain teams. So you've got 2 players from Southampton, 2 from Chelsea, 2 from Spurs, 2 from Leeds. I mean, if those particular teams have an off period or, run into a bit of a poor form stretch, how much of a blow will that be to Lacey's prospects? What's his bench like? Can we have a look at his bench?
Absolutely. Again, it is strong. You've got Richarlison, who's obviously been a bit of a mixed bag, but you could easily see him having a strong second half of the season. Havertz, sort of in the same boat as the Ziyech. You'd think that one week where Ziyech doesn't score, perhaps Havertz will. And Matty Cash, who got 6 points this week, and Villa's clean sheet record is pretty good this season. Cash looks very good on the delivery. Could crop up with some assists this season as well. You've even got Pickford there as well, and Everton looked strong defensively at the start of the season. I think we're looking at a strong 14, not a strong 11, Damien. So when you, Troy, excuse me, I was just thinking about a book I read earlier.
We're all thinking about Damien, don't worry. Don't worry there, Brian.
Quite. But yeah, it's one of those where, let's say Southampton do have a bad weekend or Spurs do have a bad weekend. He's got strength and depth. I think he's going to be the big contender this season.
He will be the guy to beat by the looks of things. Now, that covers things for this week's fixtures. That's Game 8 done. We've obviously got the international break coming up. When we return for Game Week 9, let's have a look at those fixtures.
Absolutely. Here we are,
there
Game
we go.
Week 9.
Kicking us off, we've got Adam Unwin versus Bob Chrysler. You'd have to heavily fancy Bob Chrysler there based on what we've seen from Bob so far this season. And with Adam Unwin's obviously very maverick tactics and maverick approach to the game. The next one's a doozy, isn't it? Neil Redding versus Adam Lacey. Could this be the upset of the season? Do you think Neil could pull this off?
It certainly would be the upset of the season if Neil did win, but I think the bookies have got to heavily back Adam Lacey there. I think this will be a formality more than anything.
Unfortunately for Neil, of course. And then after that, we have Damien Dickens versus Sean Belyea. Another top half clash. It's very hard to call that at the moment. Where would your money be on that?
I think this fixture, Troy, is one of 2 very tasty ones for the upcoming fixtures. If you look at the league here, you've got Damien in 4th with 16 points. You've got Sean in 6th with 15 points. Just 10 overall points between them over the course of the season. So on paper, it's going to be incredibly close. So it's a chance for Damien to go 4 points clear of Sean. It's a chance for Sean to leapfrog Damien by 2 points. I'm just going to give the edge to Damien, but it really could go either way.
It will, of course, be important to gain some momentum, and Damien picking up points in his last game will want to continue that. And Sean will obviously like to reverse the trend of the loss to Adam Lacey there.
Well, now they both scored the amount of points that they did the week prior, just gone. You'd have Sean feeling hard done by again on 45 because actually Damien was our second highest scorer last week. So you've got 2 teams in very good form.
Of course, yeah, it'll be one to watch for sure. After that, let's have a look who we've got. So we've got Sam Fleming's Luke Kyle Walker's taking in the visit of Attwell the Bastards. Now, 2 teams with, you could argue, very poor fortune at the moment. It must turn for one of them. Where's your money for the next game?
It's a tricky one because they've both been very unlucky this season. If you look at the overall points, as I like to, George has been the better side. But this is a really huge game. They're 2 teams at the wrong end of the table on 3 points apiece. They're both going to need those wins. Attwell's going to make a top half charge. He needs to win games like Fleming. But then she's going to be thinking the same thing about Attwell. So it's really tough to say. I'm going to go with Attwell, though.
Yeah, it's going to be very heavily dependent on the Wolves and Man City fixtures. Again, that's what it always seems to come down to for Sam Fleming. After that, we've got the league's bottom player in Emily Garside with Welsh balls. They take in the visit of Michael Southan this week.
Southan wins next.
And then finally, we've got the big fixture, another top half fixture with Sean Hartman versus Stuart Reid.
Yeah, I mentioned before there were two big fixtures. This is the other one. Once again, look at that table. Stuart Reid, slightly unfortunate to be in third, in fact, because he's got the second highest points tally. Sean, about where he should be, fifth highest points tally. He's fifth in the league. Over the course of the season, Stuart Reid is averaging about 2 or 3 points more. So you think he'd be the slight favourite. But look, on any given week, anything can happen, Troy.
Anything certainly can, Brian. Now, that's all from us. Thank you for joining us again for Draft of the Day. Please try and enjoy the international break if you can. He's been Brian Okocha.
And he's been Troy
Magnerson.
Ah.
Got ya.
Bye.
Naughty.